Hey, hello and welcome to Illinois University and the City of Hickory. I'm sure you're all excited to be here, and we're excited to have you here. My name is Matt Hutchinson, and I'm the Fire Chief for the Hickory Fire Department. Oftentimes, there can be occurrences of potential fires and or accidents and other emergencies during your college experience. Our fire and life safety educators have put together some information and videos that should help you through your experience. As always, we're here to serve you, and if you ever need anything, we're here to help.
Hi, I'm William Fisher and I'm here with the Hickory Fire Department. Watch this video for some tips so that you can graduate safely. North Carolina Fire Code and college policy do not allow any candles, open flame, or incense on campus. You can use candles to decorate your room, but you cannot light them. Smoking is also prohibited, but there are designated areas to smoke, aka off campus. Have you ever seen someone put an entire pizza box in an oven? It happens all the time, but it is not a good idea. Cooking tends to be a leading cause of house fires all across the United States, so be careful. At Lenore, you cannot have any cooking devices in your dorm room other than a microwave. Be careful. Make sure not to cover your smoke alarms when you're cooking or anything else, because if a real emergency does happen, you're going to be in some deep trouble. And if you hear any noise or flashing lights coming from your smoke alarms, get out, find somebody, and that will help you, because you could save a life. And if you don't live on campus and you don't have a smoke alarm, call the Hickory Fire Department and they will help you out. Make sure not to hang stuff from your sprinkler, because if you break that little bulb up there, all of your stuff will get soaked. Do not hang your clothes to dry on lamps or other light fixtures. It can cause a fire. Plug surge protectors directly into an outlet. Do not plug surge protectors into an extension cord. Extension cords are only for temporary use. Make sure to review your emergency evacuation plan just in case an emergency takes place. You can find most of these evacuation plans on the back of your doors in your dorm rooms. In the event of a fire, make sure to take your room key, check your door for heat by placing the back of your hand on the door, open the door slowly, and close the door behind you so the fire can't get into your room. Then stay low and go to the exit. Knock on all the other doors to alert others as you leave, and activate the alarm if it is not already sounding, and then remain outside until it's all clear to return inside the building. To report a fire or other emergency, you can call campus security or 911. Be ready to give your name, the address of the emergency, the problem, and a phone number. This will help the fire department find you faster.
I was the residence director at Morgan Hall, which means I was responsible for the whole building, full-time professional who managed the staff and managed the whole building. In the middle of the night, my RAs got me up. That's the resident advisors, the students who live on each floor and work with the residents there. And when I walked into the office, I could hear the fire alarm ticking. And my first initial thought were during final exams that somebody has thought it was funny to pull that fire alarm, and I was so irritated. Then I opened up the door and my RAs were standing there and their eyes were like deer in the headlights, and they said, "No, this is for real." Oh, no. And so I immediately changed my attitude and went around to the front of the building where it was, and all I could see were just flames lapping out of a second floor window. This happened in 1996, but I can still see those flames just lapping out of the front of that building. I mean, they just seemed huge to me, and had already gone up to the second floor, and my heart stopped. I didn't know what was going on, you know, as far as were the residents safe. I didn't care about the building. The building could burn to the ground as long as all the residents were safe, as long as everybody had gotten out and everything was okay. So that was just a moment when it just took my breath. The fire department, police were already on the way. Somebody had already called, which is really good. I mean, this fire was a real thing, and it was not a false alarm. So we got everybody out, but there was a guy on the floor standing outside this room with a fire extinguisher. It was not his room, and thank goodness that when the guys left, the residents were not in the room, which is a good thing. It was an accident that happened after they left, and thank goodness they locked their door, because this guy was standing there with a fire extinguisher trying to open up the room because he didn't want his stuff ruined, and he would not leave the floor. And so I had to physically push him down the floor. I said, "You're not burning up both of us. We're leaving this building." And as though that little fire extinguisher would have extinguished this room that I had just seen the flames just completely out, had blown out the windows, and had already blown out the windows of the room above and was burning up the room above it. I mean, if he had gotten that door open, we would have had a fatality. What was determined by the fire department was the residents of the room had their bed lofted, which means it was high enough to put a couch under the bed. One of them, the summer prior, they were all freshmen, he and his dad, he was from Minnesota, so he's going to be away from family. He and his dad were at some kind of flea market. His dad ran across an Elvis tapestry, and they thought it was hilarious. And so Dad bought it for him, so the student had it hung across the end of the bed, the loft, so it was hanging down. So the couch was sitting there, and they had a halogen lamp on the edge of the couch. The guys came in middle of the night, changed clothes, they were going back out, final exam time. People are getting ready to go home, for the summer, so it's their last hurrah, no exams the next day. And so they came in, changed clothes, evidently plopped down on the couch, and after they left, that halogen lamp evidently is what they think fell off the side of leaned off the side of the couch arm and hit that tapestry. It eventually caught fire, and then the whole room just went up in flames after that. I tried to be thorough in the pictures I took, but there's nothing like watching it burn. Walking around to the front of that building and seeing it burn, no, I don't think you can ever do that justice with pictures, because you don't have that same feeling as when you're watching it happen. So I thought it was important to record it, to see what damage was done, because even though it was only 2 rooms that burned out, and the room underneath did not burn but had smoke damage, and where the fire department broke the windows out by accident with the fire hoses as they were trying to extinguish the flames. Just beyond that, when the door opened, the carpet in the hallway melted. The light fixtures melted. And it just was eerie, like almost a Halloween picture with the melted lights coming down, the plastic from the frame around the light just hanging down from the ceiling. So no, you can't put that in pictures, because there's no real feeling attached to it as if you're experiencing yourself. Our biggest concerns was, we're in final exam time. This is way before cell phones, before Facebook, before it was not before email, but an email's not going to do any good at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, are you in the building? So trying to determine who had gone home for the year, who had actually moved out. Sometimes students will, if they only have 1 exam left, they'll go ahead and move home, and if they're close, and just come back for that 1 exam. I mean, who was out in the middle of the night just doing what these guys were doing? So trying to track everybody down and account for all the residents in the building was a nightmare. Nobody was injured, everybody was fine. My staff did exactly what they were supposed to do. Training kicked in, and they just instinctively knew what to do. And they got everybody out of the building. Most everybody was out prior to me even coming, being notified of the fire. So they had done their jobs. If a false alarm is pulled, the fire department still has to show up. The police still show up. It pulls all those resources away from a real emergency, because you have to check the building, you have to do all that stuff that you would do, even if you don't see flames. Is it smoke in the building? Is there a fire getting ready to ignite? What's going on? You need to take this seriously. And when that's done, you get to the point where somebody's pulled the fire alarm again, and they don't even bother to get up out of the bed, or if it's in the day, like, leave the hall or figure out if it is a real fire. Also, students need to take training seriously. They get irritated with fire drills, but look, you have this situation. Residence halls fires happen, and they happen at Lenore Ryan. It's not just something you hear about somewhere else. It's not funny. Things need to be taken seriously, and that training kicks in, and it is helpful, and it saved lives, I'm convinced.
Out of the LRU Bear Nation, this is Jeff Boggs, class of '94, wishing you a safe school year. Go Bears!